Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this webinar of the EUROCITIES and the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact. We are now starting the webinar, and this webinar will be recorded and will be available for people also afterwards. Next. So just a little bit of house rules. So first I should introduce myself. I'm Anya De Cunto and I work at EUROCITIES. And I was the one mainly, you might have been in touch and received my emails in terms of how to be connected. So as you might have noticed, except for the speakers, all the participants are muted, which means you cannot use the microphone and freely speak with us. The way you have for interacting with us is through the chat. As you might have seen on the left side of your screen, you have the possibility to have any questions, any comments, any issues, feel free to write. So what we will do, we will run the presentations and you can write your questions during the presentation, but we will be answering them only after each of the presentation. And don't worry, both presentations and the recording of the video will be sent to everybody afterwards. Normally it will take me a couple of days just to organize everything. We were just told that the audio is terrible. It shouldn't be the case, but I'll try my best. In any case, it's not me speaking, it's gonna be other people, so it should be okay. So thank you very much again for joining, and I leave now the word to Natalia.
Yes, good afternoon to everyone. So I am Natalia Boiteau. I work for the city of Warsaw, which is also the EuroCities Working Group Vice Chair. So it's my pleasure to welcome you today on the second webinar of all the series of webinars we already had and we will be having this year. So just a little overview of the agenda so that we know how we will spend the next 1 hour and a half together. So I will make a little introduction. Then you will have 2 case studies presented respectively by the city of Turin, then by the city of Rotterdam. And after each of the case study, you have this Q&A session. And in the end, a little conclusion so that we should finish at 5 p.m. So I would like to say a few words of presentations about the working group food of EuroCities. So how did this group came to life? Well, we have to go back exactly to the Expo 2015 in Milan. So the next slide, yes. When on this occasion, the mayor of Milan launched an international protocol called the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact. That was signed by many cities worldwide. Today it's 187 cities that signed this pact, and it gives a framework of action to cities to tackle food-related issues at an urban level, because, well, there was a big interest and an urgency to tackle this issue in an integrated way at the urban level. So one of the most important legacies of this MUFPP, as I will be calling it afterwards, of the Expo is the MUFPP. So after a regionalization process that took place on the European level, next slide, the working group food was created in order to update this, upgrade this topic of urban food in cities in the European debate. So within the EuroCities network, well, just to present it a little bit, there is EuroCities network. It's a network of major European cities, more or less 180, and there are many working groups in this network, which are tackling different topics of interest for local authorities. So from culture to energy, and one of these topics is food. We have now almost 60 cities being part of the working group food. So what are we doing? Well, We are a platform for knowledge sharing. So through meetings or webinars like this one, for example, we share information. We also undertake European projects. So, for example, EU calls, or we work together with different partners from the research area too. And we are experimenting innovative solutions in urban food-related topics, as well as making some European advocacy towards EU Commission, among others, and some chosen directorates generals. So the next slide, please. We have two chairs, the city of Milan and the city of Warsaw. And as I mentioned before, we are almost 60 member cities. So what have we done until now regarding this food waste topic, which is of high interest for us today? Well, we had a first joint meeting last year in Amsterdam, so that's the next slide, where we discovered basically that many cities have been already implemented different solutions regarding food waste prevention, reduction, and management. So we had the opportunity to discuss it jointly. And on this occasion, we discussed a report that was issued after this joint meeting about food losses and food waste in European cities. So you have the link on the presentation, which will be available afterwards. So I highly recommend to have a look, because it's an overview of practices that have been implemented in European cities regarding food waste. So it's very interesting to have a look. Then another activity we have done is the webinar. We organized a webinar with Foodwin, which is a Brussels-based startup, the city of Bruges, and the MUFPP last year also. So here you will find in this webinar, it's available online too. And in this webinar, you will find interesting and concrete steps for cities to design a strategy to tackle food waste in cities. So it's a kind of manual with concrete steps to do it and how to tackle this issue. So I highly also recommend to watch it online. Now I would like to say some words about what's happening at the EU level. So what is the EU doing? Well, basically, the European Union committed to achieve the Sustainable Development Goal 12, and more precisely the SDG 12.3, which is that by 2030 we have to halve per capita global food waste at the retail and consumer levels, and then reduce food losses along production and supply chains. So there was a document that was issued in 2015 regarding this goal that called on the European Commission to establish two things, basically, and that's on the next slide. And first, well, there was this idea of establishing a EU platform on food losses and food waste. So it was made in 2016, and the aim is to involve different stakeholders from the member states and from different sectors as well, to share ideas how to prevent food losses and food waste, and to find some measures to implement in the European Union on this topic. And the city of Milan is participating in this EU platform and is representing the voice of the cities. So it's very important that we have a local authority voice participating in this EU platform. Then we have this try to establish a common EU methodology to measure food waste consistently, because as you might know, it's a very hard, it's a big challenge to measure food waste, because it's happening all along the food chain, so it's hard to quantify, and we don't have any harmonized methodology until now. So the idea is to make one, and we had a deadline this month in order to give feedbacks to the EU on their proposition. So now it's an ongoing process, and we are waiting for the analysis of these feedbacks and the conclusions from the EU on this idea. But so there are some actions ongoing at this level too. The next thing I would like to present is getting back to the MUFPP. It's the Milan Pact Award. So the Milan Pact Awards has like two dimensions. There is one dimension which is a monetary prize. There are two monetary prizes, and then the second dimension, it's a special mention award, which consider all the 6 categories of this MUFPP. I didn't mention it, but the international protocol has like 6 different categories, thematic categories. For example, we have like food production, food supply and distribution, and among others, food waste. So there is also the category of food waste being included into the Milan Pact Awards, and the aim of this award is to basically give some recognition to very unique solutions but replicable ones, and to give an incentive for cities to share basically their ideas. And I must say that last year, so Ghent won the first monetary prize with an initiative regarding food waste. So it's called the Food Saver Platform. And Turin, which we have today as one of the speakers, won the Special Mention Award in the category of food waste, and the project will be presented today. So there are already some activities that were going on in this topic, as you can see. And for the next, there is the new edition of the Milan Pact Awards that has just been launched. So if some cities among the participants would like to take part in this Milan Pact Awards, feel very welcome. You have the link here on the slide. So we are inviting you to participate. So to sum it up, I would just like to highlight that, well, globally we have 1/3 of all food produced for human consumption. That is, no, we can go back. We have 1/3 of human consumption that is wasted currently or lost. So that's a huge amount. And recent estimates shows that at the EU level, more or less 70% of the food waste is happening at households, retail, and food service sectors, which means that, well, cities can make a difference, and that's why we are believing that it's very important to share this knowledge, and we are very happy to have 2 study cases being presented today. So I would like to give now the floor to the first city, Turin, to present its solution. So that's for later. Anya?
Great. Hi, Natalia. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having us. Thank you for setting that up, Natalia. I'm Simone Mangili. I work for the Mayor of Torino and the Deputy Mayor for Environment and Sustainability. I hope everybody can hear me well. I wanted to present to you today the project that we have been piloting now for about 3 years in Torino's main central market. This initiative began with on the occasion of the European Week for Waste Reduction. We got together a number of our offices and local stakeholders in the city and asked ourselves where would be the most effective place to intervene around food waste. And immediately we all understood that one of the central locations that we could have a big effect on was our central market, where we have over 900 vendors operating every day, 5 days, 6 days a week actually. and where we produce over 4,000 tons of waste each year that we spend almost $2 million a year to 2 million euros a year to manage. So we collectively began to discuss how we could address the food waste and the organic portion of the waste produced in this market, and came up with a solution that we wanted to try and test out, and now it's been running for 3 years with very good results. So if I could ask to go to the next slide. So very quickly, I just have here a number of images just to convey the importance of this market in the role of in the city. It's, as I mentioned, the central market, and it's been in existence for many centuries. This is an image from the 1700s. It was already operating as a market in our central square. And if we could go to the next image, we can see how the market actually operated back then. These are ice cellars where the market used to rely on to keep foods cool. They would bring ice down from the mountains in the Alps and be stored in these underground cooling storage tanks where that we can still see today. But moving ahead to the next images, we see the market retained a central role in the city in the 1800s and in the 1900s, and we can just scroll through these images quickly just to give you a sense of how important this market has been to the city. So we can move on. There we go, in evolving over the centuries till we get closer to the present day, and we can see the evolution of the infrastructure. These are all covered structures and outdoor stall areas. And then finally to today, which is this image where we see the market from, if we can go back one slide, we see the market from an aerial view, and this area with the red tents is the area where the majority of the produce in the market is sold. And so also where the majority of the organic food waste is produced, especially that part of the food waste that isn't collected properly. Can you hear me okay? So,
no, it's okay. Go ahead.
Great. So if we can move to the next image, this area with the red covered tents is the area that we decided to focus on. The market to this day is very, very active. It's the crossroads of the city. It's incredibly multicultural. It seems that all new arrivals in the city meet and mix here along with historic residents. And there are many languages spoken every day. And as you can see, it's very tightly packed. There's very little room between one stall and the next. And that makes dealing with waste management a bit complicated. So in this project, we decided to we had a number of different goals. We wanted to better sort the organic matter that was being generated every day in the market, so that we could compost it and bring it back into the circular economy. We wanted to create awareness around and increase sensibility around the proper sorting of organic waste. Obviously, we wanted to reduce the amount of food that was still edible and being discarded at the end of the day. And we wanted to provide that food to needy residents at the end of the market in a more dignified way, because when we started working in the market, we would notice that at the end of the market there was a lot of scavenging happening in a very undignified way. So in addition to providing food, we also wanted to do so in a more dignified way. So we can move to the next slide. And so we partnered with a private sector actor that produces composting biodegradable bags, along with our waste management company, a number of city offices, and a local NGO. And this is the situation you can see here. It was the situation at the end of the market. Because the stands are so close together, there was very little room to actually essentially store and properly sort organic matter. So at the end of the market, we would see this kind of situation, and obviously every day was a massive cleanup operation. But there was a lot of organic matter, and when it's mixed in with the cardboard and the plastic crates, it no longer is very high quality, so it's no good for composting, and neither is the other material, the cardboard and the wood and the plastic. So we wanted to address the waste management of the market and also recover as much of the edible food as possible. So we can move on to the next slide. I think there's another image of the food waste. And yep, so end of market, tight stands, this is what it would look like, and then we can move on to the next slide. So the private company that we partnered with produces these biodegradable compostable bags that you see in the image, and they also produce these sort of stands where you can attach the bag to. And the idea was, let's see if by doing a great deal of increasing awareness to each of the vendors, which is not easy because of the language and cultural barriers, but also because of the economic structure of the market, because the owner of the license to operate there is not necessarily the person who is at the stand every day, nor there's a lot of informal economy in the market. So there's the removal of the crates and the proper disposal of all the waste is often done informally for a small fee on a weekly basis by folks who are looking for quick work at the market. So the idea was to introduce a different system that would allow, even in the tight spaces, for the organic matter to be collected at each stand and then be delivered to the appropriate area where it could all be collected and sent off for composting. So we engaged a local NGO to essentially do a lot of the outreach to the vendors. We created communication materials in various languages. And if we move to the next slide, we can see some of that, I think. And we did a lot of, we engaged this NGO to do a lot of outreach to deliver the stands that you saw there, the place for the bags to be held onto, and the bags. And at the city level, we also passed numerous city resolutions, sort of tightening the fines for not respecting the local waste regulation in the markets. So it was accompanied also with the help of the local municipal police force in helping to sort of create awareness about the new rules in the market. And we sort of said we would do this for 1 year, and we would give the bags and the trestles to each of the vendors in the produce section of the market, and we would sort of accompany them in this process for 1 year. And as we did that, we would also at the end of the day, we would gather any food that was unsold and set up an area where this food would become available. So you see the image here is sort of the tight placement. These are both stands that are on the edges of the market, so there's a little bit more room, but once you are really inside the densely packed area, there's very, very little room. But so anyway, the idea was to give them these stands where the organic matter could be properly collected. And if we move on to the next slide, and then at the end of the day, the volunteers from the local NGO. So this is handing out the biodegradable bags to each vendor on a weekly basis. And at the end of the day, the same volunteers would walk along from each stand asking for any unsold food that would essentially be left on the ground at the end of the day. And that food would be collected and gathered in one area to make it available for anybody who was passing by looking for food donations. So if we move on to the next slide, this is how we started. The volunteers did a lot of work convincing the vendors to hand over unsold food at the end of the day. That was not easy. It was in some ways somewhat considered a little bit in competition. You know, the timing of the operation here was delicate because it couldn't happen too early, when there was still a chance that some of the food would be sold, and the redistribution couldn't happen too early because it would be seen as in competition with other vendors who are still trying to sell their food. So it took a lot of negotiation, a lot of mediation, a lot of mutual understanding to try and sort of come to a delicate balance of how to do this operation. So initially, you can see here the food was gathered in one area. If we move on to the next slide, it was gathered in one area. Folks began to understand that at the end of the day, there would be unsold food available there. So the folks who were involved in scavenging beforehand understood that they could come to this area at the end of the market to gather that food. Other folks in need began to also understand that this was a place where the food would happen. And so from here, we started to be effective. Over the course of the first couple of years, the first year, we saw the rise of the collection of organic matter as a percentage of the total waste being properly sorted, rise from under 8% to over 30%. So on the 100% of the total waste, where before only 8% of that waste was organic matter, because of this system of being able to better sort that organic waste at each stand, we were able to raise that percentage to over 30%, which means that there was a lot before that was being mixed in with the crates and the cardboard and so forth, and now we're separating a lot more of that, which is definitely a great goal. That was one of the main objectives. And we also raised the amount of properly sorted material in general from roughly 45% to over 60%, and actually reaching peaks of over 75% on given weeks. It varies somewhat because there's a lot of seasonality to the market. On some weeks or months when, for instance, artichokes are in season, there's a lot more organic waste being produced because of the cleaning of the artichokes. For instance, in other months of the year where there's different kinds of produce in season, there's actually less types of or less quantity of organic waste. So we started to see the real results. We also started to see that we are gathering up to around 200 kilograms of food every day in the market. And here you see we moved. It was a learning process. It's a project that's been in evolution for quite some time now. So we moved from being able to gather it in one area to actually occupying one of the stands. Actually, now we occupy two of the stands. When the market is finished, we set up the food. The volunteers set up the food on two of the market stands. So again, it's more dignified, it's more visible, and it's more accessible. And then I'll talk briefly in a minute about the social component of the program. But just to finish here, you can see it's over time becoming more and more sort of formalized as a process. We began to do more communication. And if we go ahead to the next images, we can see that there's more structure to the program. And the volunteers have evolved over time. So while initially the volunteers were volunteers of the local community organization, the local NGO that is really focused on waste management and proper waste management in the city. Over time, as this work started to evolve, there was significant interest on the part of asylum seekers who, as I mentioned before, sort of this is an entry point into the city. This is where a lot of new arrivals in our city often end up finding a place to meet people, to exchange with, and a number of asylum seekers started to demonstrate interest in this process, and the local NGO was able to recruit volunteers who were seeking asylum, who were not being able to be employed, did not have other sort of, let's say, civic engagement activities to take on during the day, and who were interested in being a part of the community, and mostly sub-Saharan, but also South Asian and other asylum seekers. And so over the course of the last couple of years, actually the volunteer corps has transitioned a great deal to being predominantly based on asylum seekers, and the city has been able to support this activity by essentially recognizing that these volunteers are engaging in these activities, and this sort of creates a sort of formal record of the civic engagement that these folks are doing every day to provide a civic service. And this is in turn helpful in demonstrating, in building a case for granting of asylum. So this has been a very circular project and process on a number of levels, both on the waste side, on the food recovery side, and on the social side. And so as we go through the next images, we keep evolving the project, doing more communication. We created a communication campaign with its own graphic identity. These are expressions in Italian that have been modified from a colloquial Italian to fit the project. These are the images that we can use on banners, on roll-ups, and so forth that we put in the market. If we move to the next image, we made a big banner above the building that oversees the produce area. We started to cover the trash, the waste compactors. That one in particular is for the crates. So you can see there that we're saying essentially this is where the wooden crates go. We have another one for the plastic crates, and we have an area for the organic matter. And if we move on to the next slide, I think we can see the banner that we put on on top of the main building. Yep, there we go. And if we move on again to the next image, we can see the local volunteers, the asylum seekers have actually now that you can see their vests have changed, and that's because they're now starting to engage in other activities to help help in different events or different markets to better sort waste and to better sort other materials that are being left behind. So if we move on to the next image, they are working in. This was the training. This is where the food is being distributed in the market, but these volunteers are also now training for the Terra Madre International Salone del Gusto event that happens in Turin every 2 years to help during that event to help people better sort their waste. Now, if we move on to the next image, we also we have the volunteers helping in the market that is set up nearby every Saturday, which is a used goods market, and there's also a lot of books and paper materials. So here they're actually collecting unsold books at the end of the market and creating pop-up libraries where the books can be available for distribution for anybody who would like to pick something up to read. And then the next image, I believe, is doing the. This was an occasion where we trying to create more sensibility around the issue of proper waste sorting. And so here they're demonstrating how much sortable waste is present in curbside dumpsters in the city. And so we can move on to the next slide. And what we're starting to do now is focus on other parts of the market. So we were focused in the part with the red tents, as we mentioned. We're now starting to focus on the other 4 areas of the market for non-organic food waste and organic food waste. And so that's where we are today. We are continuing to support the project in a number of ways. Any food that's not redistributed at the end of the market can be delivered to a local NGO that is just down the road from the market. That serves meals, warm meals to asylum seekers on a daily basis, and other folks as well. And so I think that's it for the slides. We just have a short video that I think sums up what we discussed so far. And we decided it would be easiest if individual participants clicked on the link on their own PCs to view the video. It's a 4-minute video rather than trying to show it in the presentation because it was moving very slowly. So Anya, should we just let folks watch the video now for a couple of minutes, or how do you want to proceed?
Yes, so the link is in the chat, and so everybody can just go and check it out. It's a very nice video. So we reconvene in 4 minutes.
Great.
Okay, I don't know if you're also still watching. I've just finished to watch it, so I guess everybody has done the same. Simone?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
good.
Maria also confirmed that she has just finished the video. And we have a first question actually from Amelia that she asked if you have maybe a website where you have explained the project.
At the moment, we do not. Part of the communication campaign does want to create a digital location to communicate as well. But at the right now we have to communicate it on the private partners website, Novamont, in their sustainability section. We have communicated on our city environmental policy website, and Eco dalle Città, the local NGO, and the waste management company have all communicated on their own sites, but we haven't created one single portal.
And also another question, what is the exact name of the project?
Progetto Organico Porta Palazzo, which recalls the organic matter that we're trying to collect and redistribute and not waste, but also has a nice ring to it because it means sort of working in an organic way in the market. So not just looking at the waste side of it, but looking at the food recovery and the social aspects of the volunteering.
And Simone, some further question. Are you donating the unsold food at the end of the day for the needed people? Exactly.
Yes, so the stands that we see at the end of the day where the food is set up, the market has already broken down at that point, and the food is there for anybody who wishes to come by and collect it.
And Maria is also asking if you are offering any incentives for the vendors?
Not for the no incentives. It's kind of it's a delicate situation. The vendors would eventually they would be throwing this food away. So they would not be taking it back and trying to sell it the following day. So they're giving only food that essentially should be consumed within the day or within another day. So there's no cost to them for it. And then at the same time, in terms of the waste management process, all of this is essentially already sort of part of the waste management regulation, that you're supposed to properly sort your waste, that you're supposed to collect it in certain areas and so forth. So really, it's a way to help them to deliver on their end what they're supposed to do with the waste as it is. So.
Simone, a further question from Sara. Do you know if other cities are already using your model, or if you have received requests or visits from other markets manager?
Yeah, we know that it is happening in a couple markets in Rome. There are a few markets that model. We are expanding it in other markets in Turin right now, engaging with other local NGOs. I believe there are some similar initiatives, not necessarily with asylum seekers, but in terms of collecting unsold foods in Milan as well. So I think we have had a lot of interest in this project.
And I can add that that is already the second time that you are sharing it with EUROCITIES folk. We presented it also last year in Amsterdam. So I'm receiving a lot of questions, so I continue. So Alexandra is asking if the food waste distribution is regulated by the state, because in Slovakia, the organization that distributes the food waste must be registered and fulfill strict hygienic conditions.
Right. Yeah, it is regulated by the state, especially if you would like to receive financial incentives to do so as a vendor. But in this case, nobody's asking for financial incentives, and the food is simply being, as you saw, collected and put made available. It doesn't travel really. It does not sort of go through another organization. These are local volunteers who are essentially creating this opportunity. So it's not directly regulated by the state. But when I do think that one of the challenges we do have is that when there is a lot of food collected, and if it's not if it's not taken by individuals at the end of the day, it's not so easy to bring it to other organizations to use, for precisely this reason, that at that point, whoever is doing that transporting of the food in some way enters into the legal sort of framework and becomes responsible in some way for it. So it's a little bit complicated there.
And related to the question if other cities are starting to do it, we have the example from Thessaloniki in Greece that they said they are just started from their central market, and Morgan they shared a link about their project in Montpellier, and their work that they are trying also to do similar project. Another question, many questions. Do you know if there have been initiatives to make also the buyers and not only the vendors more aware on food waste?
Yes, so the communication campaign that we're doing is more oriented towards the buyers than the vendors. The vendors we've been working with over the last couple of years directly, sort of face-to-face, creating leaflet materials, talking to them, getting them on board with the project. But really the communication campaign is about bringing that awareness to other buyers and passers-by and others around the role of food waste. So definitely.
And then a further question is about applying the same principle not only to markets but also to groceries. I guess yes. Other type of vendors. Yeah.
So the question of groceries is a hugely important one. It is regulated much more by the state in that case, and because of that, we have in our experience. Only a very structured organization is able to sort of guarantee that the process happens in a certifiable way. And so we have a system of regional food banks in all of Italy. And the one in our region in Piedmont is the largest, I think, of all of them. And our Piedmont food bank actually organizes the collection of unsold groceries from all the large supermarket chains, and they are able to certify that it's being collected in a certain way, that it's being stored in a certain way, and that it's being delivered to an end user that can be verified as being in need. And so these are all pieces of the food waste reduction stream that there's a lot of sort of legal attention on, and so it takes a pretty structured organization to be able to guarantee all of it. They also operate the food bank also operates in our general wholesale market for the city, where a huge amount of produce passes through every year. So we work in food waste in other areas outside of markets. But we have to do so in a very different way.
Okay, so let's conclude with a couple of final questions. So what was the role of the Food Policy Council, if you have one, in the city of Turin? And then Natalia that was asking, what argument was the more convincing for the vendors to give the food surplus and be less suspicious of the initiative in a matter of maybe competition?
Sure. So I'll answer Natalia's first. I think it was really more a matter of getting vendors comfortable with the idea that we weren't sort of suggesting that they were very wasteful to begin with, and we weren't there to sort of revolutionize the way the market operated, but that we were sincerely trying to essentially help them in their process of sorting waste. And in that process, we would be able to do the collection of edible foods. And so it really was, there was, as I mentioned before, some challenges around the timing, because at the beginning, the food would be, as soon as it was collected, it would be made available. And some of the vendors definitely were not very supportive of that process. So waiting for the redistribution to happen at a few minutes after the market is pretty much closed. That helped to sort of bring the vendors on board quite a bit. And then in terms of the Food Policy Council, we don't have formal Food Policy Council yet. We've been talking about it in different parts of the food community for a number of years now, and we have a number of hypotheses about how to structure it and how and the kinds of things that we will try to engage in. And we're actually coming a step closer to making that a reality. But so the short answer is no, was not involved, but the longer answer is in some ways for sure that some of the same actors are involved in the process as the actors that we will eventually engage in a food policy council. So.
Thank you so much, Simone, for this super interesting presentation. And I don't see any more questions, but I guess you remain available also afterwards in case some more should pop up.
Sure.
So I suggest now we go to Amelia and to the next presentation, coming this time from the city of Rotterdam.
Yes, hello everybody. Well, this is not a project. This is a project idea. My name is Amelia Oei, and I work for the city of Rotterdam in the Department of Economics. And what we basically do as a Rotterdam Food Cluster is to support businesses which are in food to come with new business cases that fit, that are more circular and more sustainable, and also make use of digital innovations. So, like I said, this is not a project yet. It's a project idea, and my goal for today, my target for today, is to present this to people, to you, to see what if it's recognizable as for you in your situation and what you think about it, so I can maybe make it better. Eventually, I will. With the support of other people, other companies, we want to make this a project. So it's about the business perspective, and it's about prevention of food loss. And basically, we want to try to find out if we can actually make money with food losses. So a little bit about Rotterdam and Rotterdam Food Cluster. As we see on this slide, we are situated in the south of the Netherlands along a river, and we have a very important port. Let me see. Next slide, please. Next slide, okay. And around us, around Rotterdam, a lot is happening when it comes to fresh produce. Wait, just one moment, please. We have the production, the growing of food in greenhouses. We have the production of food on the fields. Food is being imported and exported. That comes from far overseas, from South America, South Africa, towards the port of Rotterdam. Next, please. And we ship it also through to other cities in Europe. Next, please. And what also happens before it gets shipped to Europe, a lot of fresh produce is being packaged or handled. Next, please. And we have a couple of wholesalers that actually, where European supermarkets buy the fresh produce. Next, please. And other processes that happen is, for instance, the ripening. Here's you see the ripening of bananas, and the next animation. And also we process vegetables and fruits into like mixes. This is an example of it, or in juices as well. So because a lot of steps a lot of steps in the economic food chain are happening around us, around Rotterdam. A lot of loss is, it falls a lot of food loss, fresh produce food loss. And next, please. So that's what I just explained. We are a regional. The Rotterdam region is a logistic hub for fresh produce for the European hinterland, and within our region we grow fresh produce, we cool it. There are a couple of very big warehouses that cool products. It's the hub for import and exports of fresh produce. A lot of handling and logistics is happening around us. And besides that, ripening, packaging, and other processes happen with fresh foods. Next, please. We have asked a bureau to calculate how much food loss occurs in our region and in the Netherlands, and we have numbers, and in every step, even in the growing process, in the processing, vegetables and fruits and potatoes, the wholesale, the auction, the supermarkets, we have these numbers. So Rotterdam region, it's a little bit more than 200,000 tons per year. And in the whole of Netherlands, it's about 2 million, almost 2 million tons per year. Next, please. And well, at the moment, what is happening with all those fresh produce? There are a couple of reasons why they don't make it to the supermarkets, as you can imagine. But at the moment, a lot of is going. Well, it's processed to be compost, or it's becoming feed for animals. And in some cases, in a very few cases, it's turning into gas. So that's energy. But if you know the pyramid, then you know that high in the pyramid, for instance, the food and medicines, or even feed, that is the way to keep the value of food. And we also ask a bureau to see what is exactly in all those organic waste streams. What kind of valuable plant components are in there? And is it possible to get those components take it out by, for instance, by processing, and make it into ingredients for food and chemistry? And they found out that there are a couple of interesting, valuable plant components inside of them. I will read out, for instance, proteins, which is mainly in greens. And if you have a lot of citrus fruits, then you can make citrus oil out of it. There are some complicated names. For instance, you can make bioplastics out of it, or even something like furanen or pectin. So those components can be used either in food, or maybe replace chemical components that are nowadays are used in the chemical industry, but made out of fossil fuels. Next slide, please. So the idea now is to collect the organic waste streams and turn it, make it, put it in some kind of hub. Or no, actually the idea is to make a hub, a digital and a physical hub, where the supply and demand of organic waste stream can be met, and where some form of processing can happen, maybe for instance cooling or cleaning it, and then put the technology there in place as well, and get the valuable compounds out of it. And this way, if you have enough volume, then you can also get enough of these ingredients out of it. Next, please. Next slide, please. So this is, we have all written this down in one page, and this page is available for all who are interested. And this is a very short summary of the project idea. And what we want to do right now, next slide, please, is to start with a pilot where the supply and demand are matched through a platform, a digital platform, and eventually also a physical platform, where we can bring together all the small volumes of separate waste streams, organic waste streams, to make big volume out of it. We have to try the logistics around it, because in Holland here, especially in this area, it's already quite complicated, complex, and the roads are getting fuller. And what we actually try to do is reduce the amount of truck movements, also because of sustainability reasons. So if we want to bring together all those smaller volumes, how can we organize this in a very efficient way? We want to see if we can organize some, what kind of pre-processing services are needed. Like I said, for instance, cooling or cleaning, or maybe half ingredients out of it. And what is very important is that the legislation at the moment is not very stimulating for making a circular economy. So the lobby on European and national level is very important, and we want to collect all the experiences of businesses, of organizations who find the legislation, it's in the way, it's not helping them to create a circular economy. So collect cases, collect experiences, so we can find and present it to a European level, and to see if something can change, or maybe they can give us more experimental room for this. And this project idea we have worked on it for already a couple of years, and what we have so far in our region is a potential location in an agri-food, a place where a lot of businesses get together. So we have a potential location, and we have 3 organic waste processors who support this idea and want to do the pilot. We have also the support of a processor of ingredients that makes ingredients for foods, and we have a project manager, that's me, and but we still look for more support. That's the next slide. We're looking for food businesses that make or that need natural ingredients, more waste processors that process organic waste. Maybe also there's interest of the chemical industry, the chemists that wants to replace their fossil-based components with bio-based components. And maybe there could be created an extra pilot location elsewhere in Europe, for instance, in France or in Belgium, where there's a lot of fresh produce lost as well, or even in Germany. Maybe you know about similar initiatives, so we would like to learn from them or maybe cooperate together with them. And we need the knowledge of universities on this subject. So if you maybe know universities who do a lot of research on natural or on biomass valorization, then we really would like to get in contact with them. So I would like to hear what your opinion is on this idea or any questions you have, and see if you know some similar initiatives, or maybe in your city you know other parties who are also dealing or experimenting in this way.
Before maybe, so as you might know, they are not able to speak freely, so they have just written a couple of questions. Maybe we can start with that. So Irem was asking how to get together all of the organization and businesses, and indeed to collect the food product, if you have already an idea, or how have you done it until now. And then the next question is if you're also planning to involve farmers.
Yes. Well, the first one is how to get together all the organizations and businesses, etc., how to collect the food product. Well, we have started now here in this region, in the region of Rotterdam. And as soon as a couple of organizations and businesses are interested in joining, then we have to manage this and we make a project out of it. And how to get together, well, that's a matter of communication, I think. We really would want to convince the organizations who are suitable are the ones that are very innovative and are willing to take some risk, but also thinking more ahead, like well, maybe 20 years ahead. So we are trying to convince, we look for those organizations, and then we try to convince to join this product, this project, I mean, sorry. What was the other question? How to collect the food product? Well, collection is happening already, yeah? I mean, there are a lot of businesses specialized in collecting organic waste materials, but like I said, what they do right now is they turn it into compost, which they will sell, or they sometimes feed. They can feed livestock with it, and in a few cases, it will become energy, so gas. But we think that this is our lower forms of valorization. And we want to see if we can really make money out of it, out of waste streams, by getting out the more valuable components. And the other question, are you involving farmers? Well, in the long run, I think it all depends on the volumes and, of course, the material. What kind of materials do they have available? And I mentioned that we already have interest by a processor of ingredients of foods, and that's actually a cooperation of farmers. It's a big cooperation of farmers that make sugar beets, or they grow sugar beets. And out of the sugar beets, they make a lot of ingredients. So this way, indirectly, farmers are also involved.
And there is also another question from Laureline that is interested in knowing a bit more about the type of businesses that are interested in this project. You mentioned food transformation and chemical, but a bit more precisely?
Yes. Well, at the moment, how do you say, discarding your organic material as a business, for instance, as a wholesaler, or as a processor, it costs money to discard it. You have to pay some kind of a fee, and then a big truck comes every week or every day, I don't know, and they collect the waste stream, the garbage. The businesses who are interested are the ones that want to actually sell their garbage because of the valuable compounds that are still in it. Let me see. So, and like I said, it's the businesses who are also thinking in a more innovative way. For instance, one of the processors who are interested right now is one that is collecting mainly citrus fruits, and they want to turn it into gas. But they see if they can firstly take out of, for instance, the citrus oil, that's an example, or maybe other interesting things, maybe vitamins, and then make it gas, turn it into gas, then they actually can get more money out of it. Food transformation and chemical, but more precisely.
Yeah, I was gonna go back and ask. Yeah, indeed, I guess you have made some economical calculation that if you transform this in citrus oil or medicine, the value is higher than compost.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I don't know yet. I don't know who exactly, who are the industry part of it. I don't know exactly. Of course, here in Rotterdam, there are a lot of chemical processing industries. But we don't know exactly yet. That is part of the project to get to know them.
Okay, Amelia, we leave. I don't see any more questions, so we leave your contact. So I guess since you shared your contact, you're happy to receive more questions also by email, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, of course.
And so maybe just a couple of minutes if you're interested in more questions, more doubts, ideas, things to share. Mm-hmm. This is your last possibility for all speakers.
There was the question from Lauren regarding the Turin project.
Yeah, shall we go back? If there is nothing more on Rotterdam, maybe one last question on the Turin project indeed. Simone?
What was the question? Sorry.
There was a question from Laureline on how the city recognized the civic commitment of the volunteers.
Sure. At this point, what we've been able to do is to provide letters of endorsement, essentially, for volunteers that have been engaged with us for a minimum amount of time and with a certain amount of hours per week. So when they submit, for instance, their documentation to be evaluated for asylum, we've provided letters of recognition where we recognize the person, the hour engagement, and the sort of the contribution to the project.
And a couple of interesting links have also been shared in the conversation. I will try to gather them, and you will get them in the final email that I will send with the presentation and also the recording of the webinar. But if you have something more you want to share with the rest of the participants, feel free. And otherwise, I'll give now the word to Natalia for some conclusion.
Yes, so I'm looking if there are some participants who would like to add something. So, well, what we have seen with these two very inspiring projects is that, well, basically there is no unique or single approach to tackling this issue of food waste, which is which has a very broad scope. And well, it was very interesting to see that on the one hand, with Turin, well, it was this approach of and this well, your observation was of the problem on the marketplace with this problem of sorting the waste, but also the space. So I think that it shows that every city as well has its own kind of specificity, particularity that needs to be tackled. And at the same time, we have this universal problems with food issues, like regarding this food waste sorting that we would all like to do in cities properly. But yeah, so there is no unique way of solving this. But what's very inspiring too is to see that when we approach this food waste issue, well, we can have very interesting positive side effects and positive impacts on the social, economic, and of course environmental dimensions. And so that it won't be just limited to this aspect of only food waste. And it's very important for us too to see that we can relay such kind of project ideas as Rotterdam just presented. So we invite you very warmly to contact and be in touch if you have some common ideas with Rotterdam. And I think that one of our aims to be this platform of sharing ideas and inspiring ourselves with our approaches. So I would like to invite you to the next webinars EUROCITIES is organizing. So we have divided them into like thematic topics along the MUFPP topics. The next one will regard the food supply and distribution. It will happen on the 13th of May. So we will have as well the same formula, which means 2 case studies presented by cities. So we warmly invite you to join. Regarding the EUROCITIES working group foods, well, we will have a meeting in June in Ghent, which will tackle the issue of climate impacts of local food systems. So we will have 2 days when we will discuss and also see what Ghent is doing in this regard. And another information I'd like to share is that we will have the 5th annual gathering of the MUFPP happening in Montpellier in France in October. And this time the topic will regard the 17 development goals to guide urban food systems. So it will be so very enriching meeting and an occasion to share and inspire ourselves. So I think that that will be pretty much for today. Thank you for joining and for participating to this webinar, and I hope we will see you on the next webinars, so the next one in May. Anya, would you like to add something?
Yeah, just thank you very much also from my side, and especially to the speaker of today. I know that Simone is even joining us from the States. So it was a bit, it was really thank you for him to find the time and to participate. And of course also to Amelia for their commitment and willingness to be involved with us and share their great idea and good practice. I will make sure that the presentation is available on the EUROCITIES website. You will receive a link for everybody that registered, and as soon as possible I will also make sure that the recording of the video is available. Thank you very much.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.